Alright, so today's video is going to be about, you read the title, 5% of traders actually make it. 95% of traders don't even make it. And recently I came to this realization just this week after blowing, 5 XFAs and losing myself mentally, bro. Like I was losing myself mentally. This is like by far one of the worst periods I've had in my trading career, and it just hit me with the realization, like after taking this, a little like 2 days off, just coming to the realization that most traders won't ever succeed. Why? Because of the emotional aspect of trading and the psychological aspect of trading. I've came to the realization, bro, like I've had, so much experience in terms of like watching content. I've watched ICT, I've watched, Dodgy, I've watched Justin, I watched TGR, I've watched GXT, I watched TT, I watched Romeo, I watched Trader Day, and then I've watched, Fabio, Andre, I can list a plethora of traders that I've watched, like Paladin, Trader Kane, Jade Cap, Tanja, like all these, people you see online. I've watched them, I've studied their content. Um I can keep going. I swear I can keep going. But I've watched all these people's, and their content and they're producing, and I've always came to the realization that majority of the best traders you will see aren't the ones that are online. Like the alpha decay thing is real. Like you can have systems that are profitable. You can be in, these people's like Discord, their little mentorships, this and that. But the best traders are the ones that are not known. They're the ones that aren't putting their strategy up there. They're the ones that are actually putting in the work, that are quantifying, using, like they're just, it's a lot more deeper than it should be. But of course, you can be profitable. Of course, you can change your life through trading. But these gurus, they're just making it very, very hard to believe because, again, so much evidence is coming out to expose these people. And that, or they're just like, they're always selling something, there's always people selling stuff, and that, or they're making content and they're making money from the content. So it's very hard to believe it, and that's why people, fall under this category of 95% of traders won't make it. um but for me, coming to this realization and taking this, little, break, was, it's it's not about trading. It's more about self-control and understanding yourself. That's where you will see the success. And a lot of people just focus so much more on the technical aspect of like the charts, of using this fair value gap, using this inversion, using, this model, using the power trades, whatever, it's just like there's a lot. There's a lot, and there's so many different strategies, so many different models you can use. And so many people think like, oh, this one works, and this is how you get profitable. This is how passive funded account. This is how you get to your first 10K month. And like they just focus so much. Everybody just focuses so much energy into that area of like, oh, 10K a month. This is how you rinse prop firms. Like they just, this is all that people want to hear. This is like majority of the trading community wants to listen to that type of information, as opposed to like psychology, as opposed to self improvement and self development and understanding yourself and the good habits outside of trading to build to then eventually elevate your trading. Like we just, it's diluted. I won't lie, it's diluted, and people think like you have to watch more videos, learn more strategies, do this and that. This the shiny object syndrome of like trying to find the holy grail when in reality there's no holy grail. Like the holy grail is improving yourself by meditating, by reading, by journaling, by building a playbook, um, by refining your system over time, by understanding your emotions, by disconnecting and not having any sort of attachment to these accounts, to the P&L, to the risk rewards. When you think of trading, don't think about P&L, don't think about risk reward, don't think about accounts, don't think about prop firms, don't think about anything. Just think about the trades. Think about your trades that you are taking and your system that you are trying to follow. And it's simple as that. But we get so caught up in this, like this this numbers game and this, future results. You want the future results, and you focus on your past um, outcomes, and you're just never really present. You're never really present. But here is, right here. You see here, I blew 4 express accounts. I had one express where I passed and I got a payout. Right here, and I haven't got a payout since March. March 20th was the last payout that I got, and ending this month, April, or ending April with no payout is really, um, ending a month where like you don't get a payout is very just like draining. I won't lie, it's very draining because you have so much expectation, and again, you have expectation. You want a certain result, you're forcing it, but at the end of the day, if you focus on the process rather than the outcomes, you will elevate. And this is another thing too that people don't really preach about in the trading community or the trading space is stop focusing so much time and energy on trading. Focus on other aspects of your life that will help, catapult trading and your results as a trader. And one of those things is reading. Like if you're reading, if you're improving, you're gonna see results. Read books, bro. Like, and don't just read books just to read them. Like actually take notes, study them. You know, find ways to improve your life outside of trading by doing these things. Like by building these systems, improving your life, by meditating, by praying, by visualizing. By my best thing that has led me to get to those payouts, the one shift that I really shifted was whenever I started meditating and visualizing. And every time I would visualize, I would visualize myself having those 10K months. But as opposed to that, like once I stopped doing that habit in March because I thought I had it all figured out. I started focusing more on trading. Like, oh, I want to review my playbook more. I want to review my trades I'm taking more. I want to do my lesson logs where, I'm learning more. But that just led me to wanting to gamble, wanting to like force trades. That's essentially the reason why I blew those accounts. Was a Monday morning where I was unable to walk away from the charts. I took away my daily loss limit, or my set daily loss limit, and my trade loss limit, or my trade limit. I just took those off and I just started gambling. I was risking 500, and I lost 500. I lost my first trade. Unable to walk away, I risked 1,000, and then boom, we got here. Where I'm just on, not even I am on an eval, but I'm not really trading it. But it's just like after stepping away really and just like taking a little break, again I realized unable to control myself, and just gambling. But I lost my train of thought. The train of thought I was trying to say was, let me pause. I realized it. I realized what I was saying. Realized what I was saying was, in order to be in that 5%, you can't focus simply on trading. You can't just simply focus on trying to watch more videos, build these habits around trading. Your life outside of trading has to be, you have to be improving. Of course, going to the gym, going for walks, drinking water daily. These are important habits that I do. Water with electrolytes, sunbathing, in the morning, or biohacking, just basic biohacking, protocols. But the one thing that really shifted for me was when I was reading, and I didn't realize this until right now, until I was reflecting. Was I was reading these books around November and December, and then next thing you know, I get my payout in February and March. That's when I start trading again and I get those payouts. But in November and December, before those times, before November of last year in 2025, I was unprofitable. I was blowing accounts left and right. I was unable to pass evals. I would have passed them and then eventually blowed them. I didn't really have a system. I didn't really have, a model I was following. I was kind of following like a CRT model, but that I didn't really have systemized, data collection. I didn't have none of that. And it all changed when I started reading. I read three books, but um, I read Master Your Thinking, um, Emotional Intelligence, and then Don't Believe Everything You Think. Read those three books, and then I started building the habits around those books. The 80/20 principle. I realized I started reflecting really on trading, like, hey, what were my key habits that improved my life? And one of them was journaling my trades and building my playbook and creating that lesson log and just building my model, really refining my model. I started asking myself questions like, what is my model? I started backtesting it, and then made those backtesting videos, and then eventually I dove deeper into them, and I started diving deeper into my system, and then eventually started watching other, traders and learning lessons from them and implementing into my system because I knew my system had certain flaws. I would analyze them. I would backtest, and I was collecting data. I was asking those important questions, and I was meditating. I was really meditating, and I was thinking to myself like, where are my flaws? And again, building those key habits. I was meditating. I was visualizing. I was visualizing myself having that 10K a month, and then I will slowly backtrack to the present moment and think to myself, how can I get that future result right now? What habits do I need to do today? and what things do I need to do in order for me to get to that point. And that's where everything started to click. Once I started to backtrack from my visualization, started to pray, started to ask God, like to just have more gratitude. I was starting to have more gratitude and appreciating every single moment. So then eventually I wouldn't have FOMO. I wouldn't have, the urge to gamble and to be impatient and to, try to pass multiple accounts. Because again, I was just on one eval and I passed one eval. I was funded, and then I got my payout from that one. I got my payout. I got another eval, passed that one, got a payout from that one, and then I got two more payouts from those two accounts, and then that leads us to the current moment where I had multiple evals. I passed those, got funded, and I just had the wrong mindset. I had the wrong beliefs, and I just had the wrong habits. And then eventually snatched away from my own demise. And that's just, it's God humbling me, bro, because again, it's bringing me back down to the baseline of where I originally started, of, building those good habits and being back on track, and then boom, snatched away. And it can be taken away from you just like that, as, as it can be given to you, And, you have to really think about this. Like, if you really want to be in the 5% category of the, top best traders, or the best traders, usually they're not online. The top 1%, never online. You'll never hear about them. You never see them on a podcast, a video, this, that, sharing the strategy, this, that. It's just theoretically, you'll probably never see those people, if I'm being truly honest. The best traders, you'll never see them, all right? You'll never see them. They'll never be on a prop firm. I'll tell you that. They'll never be prop firms. But of course, I'm not saying you can't change your life, this and that with that. But you'll probably never see. To be in the top 5%, think about it. You really have to think about this. If you really want to be the best of the best in the this category of trading, using retail concepts, what do you have to do to stand out? Clearly, it's not strategy. Clearly, it's not none of this. It's you. It's yourself. You have to take a look in the mirror, reflect, and think about it. Hey, what can I do to be the best trader possible that I can be? What habits do I have to build? What mindsets do I have to adopt? What beliefs do I have to start believing in? Like what things have to change inside of me in order for me to be in that category? Because again, you have to really start to believe in this, and that's what I'm currently dealing with. Like, I can use ICT, I can use order flow, I can use support and resistance, supply and demand, all these important concepts, this and that. I have a whole plethora of categories that I've studied, bro. I promise you, I've studied these things. I've adopted them to my system. I've built a system. I mushed it all together. I'm using order flow. I'm using ICT. I'm using all these, traders. All these people's, concepts together, and I'm still not, seeing the results that I want to see, because it's me. It's me. You can have that 80% win rate, with a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 or 1-to-1.5. It's kind of what I'm going with. It's like an 80 to 90% win rate with a 1-to-1.5, minimum 1-to-1. And I'm still just unable to walk away sometimes from an L or a break even, or just wait for my system to be presented. And it's me. It's me that is falling short as a trader. And I'm thinking about it. If I want to be in that 1% category, not really 1%, but like the 5% category, I have to work on myself. And I'm going to have to do more meditation, more journaling, as in terms of like, in regards of like paper journaling on how I feel, not trading journaling, but paper journaling on how I feel, asking myself those important questions of, like, why am I unable to walk away? Why am I not content with what the market is giving me? Why am I impatient to wait for my model or my system to present itself? I have to start asking myself those important questions and really take a look in the mirror, continue reading, learn about other topics, and then, build other businesses and find or intertwine the business. No, not how can I intertwine the skills and lessons that I've learned from trading into the other businesses, because everything correlates. And this is my last little piece of information that I'm gonna give out, is everything correlates in life. So the reason I lost is because, again, something in terms of like my lifestyle was incorrect, and the markets and just life in general, showed it. So what I mean by that is, spiritually, mentally, and physically, you have to work on yourself in every single one of those categories. Spiritually, in terms of your religion or your prayer, and just how you feel spiritually. How spiritually connected are you? Maybe you believe in, Christ. Maybe you're Muslim. Maybe you're Hindu. Maybe you're Buddhist. I don't know, but spiritually, you can just pray. That's the most basic one. You can pray, you can read a Bible, you can read a Quran. Another one is, mentally. Mentally, you can be, reading books. You can be journaling how you feel, or uh, you could be meditating. You could be meditating. I would categorize meditating more of like a spiritual thing, but it is kind of like a mental thing. But more mental is reading, just reading, journaling, really reflecting, being more in your mind, and learning more about yourself, and then or learning more about your problems and trying to solve those problems because they're more of a mental battle as opposed to a physical battle. Especially when it comes to like trading, other stuff like that, and physically, going to the gym, going for walks, communicating with other people and being more social, I guess, and building things, solving problems. And yeah, that's really it. That's all I got. But today, really last month was a big, big, big learning lesson. Just really gonna show you guys the proof, I guess, because again, there's gonna be people that don't believe, oh, that you really didn't blow your accounts, or how did you really gamble? Like this was my accounts. I had three rules: follow my system, my G7 system; two, risk 1%; and then three, take one trade a day. And it was simple, sweet, concise, and I was just unable to follow that. Leading to April 26th, boom, or the 27th, I should say. Yeah, and then just crashing out, blowing the accounts. Really, really is unfortunate. Total contracts, 24 contracts on micros with MNNQ. And you can see here, usually, majority of the time, I'm not really trading that size. But that day, I just crashed out, and it really, really is unfortunate. Yeah, that was just across multiple accounts, and just unfortunate. Self control, just out the roof. I just was unable to control myself, and I got punished for it. I was having the wrong mindset, the wrong beliefs going into that day, and I should have just stepped away, instead of doing damage to myself. But I view this as a learning lesson. I view this as progress to build and become a better trader. Because again, you're never really deprogressing. I don't know if that's a word, but you're always progressing no matter what, even if you have setbacks in life. And as it goes with trading, like you're always experiencing things, you're always gaining experience, and you're always learning. But does that mean you're always progressing? I don't know. It all depends on you as a trader and you as a person as to how you deal with those experiences and what lessons you extract from those experiences to then eventually catapult you into future results in the present moment. All that matters is right now. What did you learn right now? What can you do differently? And what are you going to do differently? What can you instill into your mind and really just reflect upon, hey, what can I do better? And as simple as that, bro. So I'm going to leave you guys with this message of if you want to be in the if you want to be in the top 5%, what are you going to do differently as opposed to everyone else in this little bubble right now? So yeah, really think about it.